Welcome to this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. Today, we're going to go back to our roots and talk a little bit about Star Wars. And today, we've decided we're going to tackle the original movie from 1977, A New Hope. But before we get started, I got to ask you a question. This has nothing to do with Star Wars, but this happened to me last night, and I need your help on interpreting my dream. How good are you with interpreting dreams?
It depends if I can be sued for bad advice.
Yeah, well, I'll sue you, but I probably won't win because I'm too lazy to get a lawyer. So I had this dream last night. And in the dream, my wife and I are walking through the grocery store, and we're doing our grocery shopping, and all of a sudden, the announcement comes on, and the manager or whatever the store says that, attention, all the, patrons of the grocery store. There's a new law that's been passed in the United States that it is now legal to steal up to $75 worth of goods from a store. And that's all that was said. And I look at my wife and I say, did I just hear that right? My wife says, yeah, I guess we can just take $75 worth of stuff. And I thought, well, that's just kind of strange. And then I look up in the dream, and Donald Trump is coming down the aisle with a grocery cart and decides that he wants to take $75 worth of nacho cheese. And I look at my wife, I said, Donald Trump is in our grocery store, and he's taking $75 worth of nacho cheese. And she said, yeah, that's what it looks like. And he's got Secret Service with him. And the Secret Service guys say, okay, you have your $75 worth of nacho cheese. And then I woke up. What do you think that means?
I think it means somebody in the house is pregnant.
I hope not. I hope you're wrong. And if you are right, I'm going to sue you if you're right. So let's talk about Star Wars. So we've done an episode about the prequels, and we said, we got the prequels out of the way. Maybe we'll do the sequels, maybe we'll do the originals, but we decided, hey, let's go back, let's get original, and let's talk about the first movie. So we're going to talk about Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah, this replaces the episode we were going to do on Storage Wars. No freaking hope of getting anything worth crap out of the lockup.
Oh, see, you've got to get my email address correct, because I didn't get that memo that we weren't going to do that one. So can you get my email address right? So
the shepherd at AOL.com, isn't it?
No, well, AskJeeves.com.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. It was released May 25th, 1977 in the United States. And originally, there were fewer than 40 theaters across the country that actually ordered the film to be shown.
40 theaters in the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fewer, actually, than 40.
Wow.
So maybe like 39 or something.
Yeah. Maybe 38.
Yeah. And 20th Century Fox actually had to bribe some of those theaters to actually order Star Wars. And they bribed them that in order to receive this eagerly anticipated movie, which I've never heard of, called The Other Side of Midnight, these movie theaters had to order Star Wars. Have you ever heard of that movie?
The
Other Side of Midnight.
The Other Side of Midnight.
I mean, we're pretty big movie buffs. We have thousands upon thousands of movies, and I've never heard of that movie.
The Other Side of Midnight.
Yeah.
No. Was that like an Academy Award nominated movie? Do we know that? Or
I don't know. I'm almost tempted to ask Siri if she's heard of it, but
I don't
the
wanna
problems
even
we
do
had
that.
last time with her, I don't think we need to bother with her.
She gets to be cantankerous.
She's got
but
podcast fright.
I think she does.
Yeah.
At least our versions of Siri
Yeah.
does. But we got to be careful saying her name too much while we're recording because we both have iPhones, and at least we don't say "Hey" and then her name because
mine won't react to I say, "Hey Siri." She's decided to show up.
Oh, now all of a sudden she's listening. Yeah. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful with that technology.
No.
Yeah. See?
No.
Yeah. You got to be careful. Got to be careful with that. Got to be careful with technology.
Useful as always.
Yes.
Would have been quicker for me to Google it. So 20th Century Fox, they were kind of worried that Star Wars would be beaten out by some of the other movies being released in the summer. And that's why they actually moved the release date to like May 25th. They brought it forward a little bit.
Isn't that a weird time to release a movie?
Well, that's the Wednesday right before Memorial Day.
Yeah.
But they didn't want it to be beaten out by some of the summer blockbusters as such coming out that year, such as Smokey and the Bandit, which was, expected to be a big success. So,
Right.
They actually moved it. And I think on the opening day, on the 25th, I think there was only like 32 theaters which actually showed it. And then the next day, another 8 started showing it. But that was it across the entire United States.
Wow.
So, and, in the run up to its release, Fox told, George Lucas.
No. 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
Not Fox, 20th Century Fox.
That's still the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to be so accurate with this podcast. We don't want to lead anybody astray.
Yeah, this is the one of the few podcasts where we do actually want to be accurate on Star Wars because we know the fans will pick this to
absolutely,
bit.
absolutely,
It went
and we're two of those fans.
Yeah. So George Lucas, because this communication had come from 20th Century Fox that they weren't too optimistic about Star Wars being much of a success. He actually elected to forego his option to an extra $500,000 for directing, and he exchanged it for the merchandising and sequel rights.
Smart guy.
Smart
guy.
But, I mean, he did that. You say he was smart, but, obviously it wasn't smart in hindsight on 20th Century Fox's part. But...
Well, yeah. But, you're right there.
But George Lucas, he'd actually visited Steven Spielberg's set when they were doing Close Encounters, and George Lucas said to Steven Spielberg, I think your movie is going to do way better than mine. And Steven Spielberg actually disagreed. And they kind of had a bet, and they said, let's take 2.5% of each other's movies for all time. And so to this day, Steven Spielberg still gets 2.5% of Star Wars.
Wouldn't that be a nice position to be in to just say, hey, let's bet on this?
Yeah.
It reminds me of what was the movie with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy and the rich white guys, they bet $1. Trading Places.
Okay.
It's kind of that same premise.
Right.
You're just playing with the world, but it seems like such a cheap bet at the time.
Now, wasn't it one of the actors in Star Wars as well took some percentage?
Oh, that was Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, yeah.
Alec Guinness.
Because they couldn't afford him or something to go in the movie or something, and he said, I'll take a percentage of that.
So he said, I'll take a percentage rather than whatever you pay actors.
Yeah.
You got scale and all that.
And he was already
stuff.
an established actor at that point.
Alec Guinness had been doing movies for years. I mean, he was a well-known actor.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing was a well-known actor.
With the Hammer Horror. I mean,
Oh, yeah. So those guys made out like bandits.
Yeah, that's a good deal, but again, that benefit hindsight. So within 3 weeks of the release of Star Wars, 20th Century Fox's stock had actually doubled, and and they more than doubled their annual profit in that year from any previous year, purely because of Star Wars.
Wow.
So, again, I think Fox kind of got lucky a little bit there.
No, I think they definitely got lucky. I mean, it was it at this point that they were saying, hey, we're 20th Century Fox, and we're in 1977. We only have 23 years left in the 20th century. Maybe we need to be rethinking our name.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be when that whole thing started coming around, saying maybe we need to rename our movie house.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't have the internet. They could have gone online and got a general consensus of opinion.
Yeah, that's true. Just posted something on Twitter and said, hey, what should we name this?
Yeah.
And maybe somebody would have said 21st Century Fox, and they'd have been like, we just bought ourselves another 100 years. Maybe we should have done that.
Well, you know what's been happening over the past few years whenever any corporation or company has been running these, what should we rebrand ourselves or name ourselves thing. I don't know whether this mainly comes from 4chan or from Reddit, but a whole host of people go on there and it's always something, it would be something like Foxy Face.
Yeah.
Something like that, and it gets the majority of votes because they all flood in and mass vote.
Absolutely.
There was one.
But those do make good names. It's like, you want to go with Fox?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Fox McFoxy Face.
I think it was some semi-professional soccer team in the United States. Actually, they were going to give the fans a chance to come up with the official name for the team, and again, either 4chan or Reddit got on it, and it was going to be called like Footy Face or something FC.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean, for soccer in the United States, let's be honest. I mean that's probably a pretty good name for it because it's still not making it. I know that wears you out a little bit because yes, soccer is the biggest sport in the world, but it still hadn't grabbed hold in the United States. So.
Still the most played sport in the United States.
Well, probably so. I mean, we do have a lot of kids that have to play
and
that sport.
adults as well. Most played adult sport and most played youth sport in the United States.
Okay, all right.
But that's only because we can't just go down the road and play ice hockey.
Well, that's true, especially in Texas.
Yeah. Plus, I can't skate for crap, so there's that.
Well,
I'll be a goalkeeper, I think.
Maybe you and I should play ice hockey.
Yeah. I've got it on the Xbox One if you want to kind of...
Are you better at that than Rocket League?
I'm better at giving birth than Rocket League. No, I'm pretty good at Rocket League now. Anyway, getting off topic here.
Yep.
So by August...
We never do that.
Yeah, no. By August 3rd, Star Wars was actually playing in just under 1,100 theaters. So it jumped from that 40 theaters to 1,100 in just over a couple of months across the country. And there were actually 60 theaters who played it continually for a year.
Wow.
Kind of non-stop, which, given the average Star Wars fan went to see it goodness knows how many times, having it running for a year, you're going to get the repeat business from the same people. And there's not that many movies where people, go do that to,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you got Star Wars. In the modern day of movies, you've got a handful of, your Harry Potters, your the Hobbits, and what was the one before the Hobbits?
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, things like that. You might get people to go see those movies more than once. But Star Wars was kind of that first one that everybody ran out.
Yeah.
And before the haters come out with Star Trek, we're not even going to accept those comments. Yeah.
Now, did you know Star Wars, it was actually re-released in 78, 79, 81, and 82 in the theaters? Because they figured, people had enough of a break. Oh, they'll going to want to see it the following year and the following year. But it wasn't actually until 81 that Episode 4 was actually subtitled A New Hope. Before that, it was just Star Wars Episode 4, and then it became Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope.
Yeah, but the fact that they re-released it makes sense, right? Because this is before home video. It's starting to take hold, but nobody had home theater. You didn't have a huge TV in the house. And part of Star Wars was that opening scene, when when the ship flies over and the Star Destroyer flies over, in that whole opening scene everybody loves, that just got everybody to immediately fall in love with Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's different to witness that in the movie theater versus just sitting at home watching it on a 19-inch TV. So I could see that.
Now, how old were you when you first saw A New Hope? Because I was 8 when it was released in the UK, but you were pretty much an embryo still around then, weren't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't even a thought in my father's mind at that time when it was released, because I was born before 77. But I do remember watching Star Wars on television. I remember my dad sitting in the living room recording Star Wars off of television with our Curtis Mathis VCR and a wired remote control that had a play pause button while we recorded it, and it wasn't even a button, it was a slider.
Was that so you could cut out the commercials?
Yeah, so you had to slide it down to pause and then slide it back up to hit play so record would start, just to record Star Wars off of normal broadcast television.
Wow.
And I sat, and that was the first time I watched Star Wars.
Now, did your dad go and watch it in the movies when it was originally released,
Yes.
or was it not his thing?
No, he did. He did. He loved the movie, and my mom loved the movie, and they went to the theaters and watched the movie. They did like it. And they knew, new baby on the way. He was going to like it too.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I actually saw it the summer it was released in the UK, and I remember I had to line up for 3 hours.
Well, now, in the UK, was this released long after the US?
In the summer.
Okay, so not that far away.
Not that long, a few months. But yeah, I remember.
Ironically, because a lot
queue,
of it was
the line was
recorded.
around. Yeah, the line was around the block multiple times, and it was 3 hours. And it's not like we went first weekend or first week. I mean, it must have been like the second month of release, and it was still 3 hours.
Wow.
And we did by no means, live near a huge city or anything. But yeah, I remember staying in line 3 hours with my dad, going in to watch it.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of ironic? Because all the soundstage stuff was recorded over there.
Yeah. I think, here within, you go like 5 miles in any direction for the most part, you're going to hit a movie theater. In, England, you didn't really have a lot of choice in movie theaters. I mean, I think in our closest city, there were maybe only 2 movie theaters, and one of them wasn't a very big one, and I think used to show all that artsy crap, which
kind of like what we would consider like a indie movie theater.
Yeah. You could pretty much make a movie and they'd play it, you know. So yeah, I guess that kind of explains the lines really, because we did only have one movie theater that I can recall ever going to, and I don't think it had that many screens at the movie theater.
Yeah.
Well,
the movie theaters back then aren't like movie theaters today, where you have, like you say, 16 screens, 24 screens, 30 screens, stuff like that. They had 2.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And so you had a choice between 2 movies. You went left, you went right.
Right.
Those were your 2 movies you were going to look at. That was it.
Now, obviously, you didn't see it when it was first released at the movie theater, and by the time you got a little bit older, the market was already flooded with merchandise.
Yes.
Now, what was your first piece of Star Wars merchandise?
Probably action figures.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so young, I remember wanting Star Wars toys, but it was action figures. I didn't get any of the play sets, anything like that. It was action figures.
I can guarantee you can't guess what my first piece of Star Wars merchandise was.
I would guess a Porg.
No, Star Wars, mate. First movie.
Oh.
New Hope.
Okay. Well, I know you like porgs.
Yep.
'cause
Well,
you're a
target
fan of
practice.
episode
Target
8.
practice. Yeah.
So your first piece of Star Wars merchandise, and this is bought in a store.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with an X-wing.
No, it was actually a blue Star Wars ruler, which my dad bought for me on the way back from work and brought it home. It's a ruler. Yeah, school supplies. A Star Wars ruler, but I loved it. It had "May the Force be with you" on it. But no, I love that thing.
Nice.
It's cool. Now, did you ever get the chance to go see it at the movie theater?
Well, yes, and of course, much later in life, when I saw the original movie in the movie theater, and when I say the original, actually, the first time I saw A New Hope in the movie theater was actually the special edition.
Right.
When they got re-released.
Well, that was like 91, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the special edition?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's when I first saw
So you
it.
never got to see the original unaltered one in the movie theater?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Now, not to get too off topic, but the first movie that I ever saw in the movie theater with, or for me, of course, but I also saw it with my father, was Return of the Jedi in 1983.
Okay.
So, this was obviously, I had watched Star Wars, I had watched Empire, and now I'm 5-6 years old. I'm old enough in my father's eyes to actually go to the movie and sit there and watch a movie. But the first movie I saw in a movie theater was Return of the Jedi.
Right. So obviously Empire was already out by the time you first went. So a Jedi been out for a while by the time you first went.
Oh, no.
That must be...
Jedi was 83.
Yeah.
So New Hope was 77, Empire was 80, Jedi was 83.
Yeah.
It was still in the movies, and in 83 I was 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
And that was the first time my dad took off work and came home and picked me up, and we went to the movies and we saw Jedi in the theater.
So you mentioned that your dad illegally copied it off the TV. Did you actually own the DVD or Laserdisc of Star Wars at some point?
Well, we didn't have money like people in the UK to have Laserdiscs.
Oh, we didn't have a Laserdisc.
Yeah. So my first copies of Star Wars were recorded off TV.
Mm-hmm.
So my first copy of Star Wars was recorded off of CBS, KDFW, CBS, and I'll never forget, and even when I watch the movie today, when Luke and Leia are about to go across the gap, when Luke shoots the laser, hits the lock and says, well, we got to swing across here. During that scene, there was a deal that popped up from the local TV station, KDFW, that popped up right there. So every time I see Star Wars A New Hope, I picture that, because when I would watch that movie over and over again, I would see the little station identification right there.
Yeah.
Because that's where it was recorded.
Yeah.
Empire was actually recorded by one of my dad's friends who had HBO. And so he recorded it off of HBO. So there were no interruptions on that one. There were no weird hard stops on that, but we still had that VHS. And I wore that VHS tape out. And I can't remember, this is back in the day when you had that SLP VHS where you could have 6 hours on the tape, and there were like 3 movies on it. And Empire was actually the second movie on there. So I had to constantly fast forward through whatever the first movie was just to get to Empire to watch that. Return of the Jedi, we recorded I think, off of HBO, and I think that's when we finally got cable.
Mhm.
So we actually had a nice clean copy
decent
that we
copy,
did
right.
for ourselves. But it was still on SLP, and I think after Return of the Jedi was the Ten Commandments or something like that. So there were 3 movies on that.
Yeah, I recorded it off TV. I actually had a friend who, the summer it was released, was going to New York for holiday later on in the summer, probably closer to the fall. And one of his friends who, I think it might have been a relative who lived over there, said, hey, if you go, into Manhattan, there's a lot of people hawking, kind of like videos, on the street corners and stuff.
I mean,
and you can probably buy Star Wars for like, $10, $15, and it'd be a really good copy.
Just so we're clear, we know nothing about hawking like pirated movies or anything like that.
Well, I think Hawking is selling them, street corners, and we don't do that.
This is brand new information.
Yeah.
We're just talking
So
about
anyway, he went there, right? And he bought it. Him and his, I think his brother was older than him, but yeah, they walked around, and actually managed to find a copy, and they bought it. But where they were staying there didn't have a VHS; they just had a Betamax, right? And so they had to wait till they got back to England to play it. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of an issue with the format, so they put the movie in, and it started playing, and it was a different line rate or frame rate or something. I can't remember what they used to call it, because because it was an NTSC format as opposed to PAL. PAL,
PAL.
So anyway,
when y'all had PAL over there.
So when it started playing, it was in black and white. Okay, and it turned out it wasn't Star Wars at all.
Oh,
it was a porn movie involving clowns and a lot of screaming.
I thought that's what episode 4 was.
Well, maybe episode 9. I would have rather watched the porn with the clowns and screaming in black and white than episode 9.
Let's be honest, episode 8 would have been better off if it would have been that.
Well, actually, episode 8 was the first one,
yeah.
But that's for a later date.
Hey, we're supposed to be focused on episode 4. Hey, we got to focus. We got to focus here.
So how many times, while you were still, I guess, a kid as such, did you see Star Wars?
Oh.
Did you watch Star Wars? Do you think?
Way too many to count. Way too many to count.
Like over 150?
No, I mean thousands of times. I mean, I was 8, 9 years old, and I could quote the whole movie, start to finish. I mean, I knew every little bit of that movie by the time I was 8 or 9 years old. All the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it's funny when
I could reenact everything with the action figures that I had. I knew about KDFW Channel 4 going. Oh, wait a second. 2, 3 seconds. Okay, here's where that KDFW Channel 4 pops up. Right now, when they're about to swing across here. Oh, here's where my dad messed up whenever he was sliding the deal on the Curtis Mathis VCR and cut out 2 seconds of the movie. I knew it that well.
It's kind of amazing how you got a girlfriend, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, other than the fact that I'm a gorgeous man.
Yeah, but...
No,
I don't know.
I'm a gorgeous man.
It's funny because our friend Eric, when he used to live around the corner from me,
who is not a gorgeous
man, not like you and I. Whenever I used to go around his, we used to put on a Rogue One because we had a copy of it, and literally almost every day that's what we put on. So I think across the time span of a year, I think I saw Rogue One maybe about 250 times.
Yeah.
Just like 3-4 times a week without fail. And it was just always playing in the background. And then it actually replaced, because we had Hot Tub Time Machine, which is always a great background movie.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that's one of those movies where I think I know it almost word for word.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how you can have some movies, even if you're not concentrating them, just on in the background and you feel comfortable, whereas there's some movies I just can't have on in the background because it annoys me.
Right.
You know, all the screaming in Schindler's List, I just can't work with that in the background.
There's a lot of movies that, you know, like you say, you consider background movies that you've seen so many times. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you realize maybe you forget a few lines from, right? And that's actually where my wife likes to throw stones at me. Because I don't watch A New Hope as much as I used to when I was a kid. Still love the movie. But I will get a random word here or there wrong. And then she just beats me to death. You know, just mentally like, oh, I thought you were a Star Wars fan. You said and there was no and there. And you're wrong. And I thought you were a Star Wars fan. And then it makes me want to beat her, but I don't beat her. But.
Now, you said that the special edition was the first one you saw. Now, later on...
In the theater.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you did see the unaltered edition
sure.
before that. Now, what do you think of the special edition compared to the unaltered version? Do you kind of, I mean, given that you were so young when you saw both, I mean,
looking back at the special editions, A New Hope, to me, Lucas did a good job. I remember watching a PBS special, which, by the way, we recorded on our Curtis Mathes VCR, and the making of Star Wars, and they showed the scene that they put in the special edition with Jabba, and they had, you know, that actor that was wearing the suit and everything, and Han Solo's walking around him and talking to him and all that. I didn't think the original trilogy that the special edition, I don't think it did it a disservice, except for the whole Greedo shot first or Han shot first, and I know that's a big deal, and that was like 2 or 3 iterations after that. And I mean, we could do a podcast about that if we were a Star Wars podcast, right? Which, I mean, let's be honest, we could actually do a Star Wars podcast, but we don't want to do that. But I think all in all, the special editions were okay. I didn't have a problem with them.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't have a problem with them. It's like 77, 80, 83. There's only so much technology available, and everybody looks back at those movies and said, look what Lucasfilm did with these movies and what they were able to accomplish with special effects. And now all of a sudden, you fast forward 20 years and you give a guy this ability with computers and everything else to make everything look great. And he just said, well, let me clean some of this up and make it look better. That's all he was trying to do. He wasn't trying to change the story back then, right? I'm good with the special editions, but when I show my kids the original movies, my kids have seen the original movies and the special editions. They like the special editions better, but they're also kids.
Yeah.
So
now we have the 4K versions of all of the Star Wars movies, and A New Hope is difficult to watch in 4K, especially on, you know, because
it is.
I've got an 80-inch TV, and watching 4K A New Hope on there,
Yeah.
it's almost like watching a soap opera. It's just overly clean. I have to go back.
Right.
You know, if I put it on deliberately, I tend to put on the, unaltered version. But even that, you know, it's just so clear because I guess they remastered it and did all this stuff with it. And even that on the big TV, it's kind of difficult. You know, it looks better on a smaller TV, you know.
Well, you also have to remember that when you were watching those movies, you were watching a movie on film. And it's actual film strip going through a projector. So it looks different. Now everything's digitized and it's so cleaned up that, yeah. it does make it a little bit harder to watch because those special effects that they had back then, you're taking something that we have now and cleaning it up that unmasks those special effects that were easily hidden way back then because of film. And it's hard to watch.
Now, if you ignore the other 8 movies in the series, which obviously isn't hard to do with the final trilogy, what's your impression of A New Hope almost like 45 years later? Do you think if it was released now and obviously had the special effects which kept it in line with today's quality of special effects, do you think plot line, storyline, that it would still be as well received?
Yes, absolutely. If you took that storyline and you applied today's special effects, today's sci-fi capabilities and everything, it would hold up 200% to what Hollywood's putting out.
But I mean, as the original movie, not being redone with all the kind of
absolutely
stuff,
the original movie, it would hold up. If you showed that movie, if it was shot today, and you showed it to an audience who had no idea what Star Wars was, it would hold up.
Now, what do you think, say your kids were watching it now for the first time, right? Compared to everything else which has been out, again, ignoring all the other Star Wars movies, do you think they would pick any holes in it in terms of, well, why aren't they doing this? Why are they doing that? Blah, blah, blah. Because obviously technology back then in 77 was very different now. And you think, some of the technology you look at in the original Star Wars trilogy seems kind of backwards even by today's technology we use now.
Yeah, I mean, they're
wired headphones in the Millennium Falcon for one, but
exactly, and that's where I was going. The wired headphones and all that. But you know what? If you're talking about shooting the movie today with the same screenplay, there wouldn't be wired headphones.
Well, there's a fan theory on that, actually, that, if you didn't want...
the ship is old and all
that. No, not even that. It's about, if you didn't want your signal to be hacked or copied, having it wired and keeping it, a kind of almost like an analog network would make sure that your signal and conversations couldn't be intercepted. So having it wired within the Millennium Falcon was kind of
Eric, who thinks QAnon has everything and got rid of his iPhone because you have to have an Android because somebody might read his text messages.
Well, no, he got rid of the iPhone because he kept dropping it like a 14-year-old girl.
Well, 6 to 1, half dozen to the other.
So, although the suggestion's kind of blasphemy in a lot of Star Wars circles, do you think Star Wars could be remade today without it being kind of a woke virtue signaling piece of garbage?
No, never happen. It would never happen, and that's the sad thing. We picked the perfect time to have that movie made. We really did. It's kind of sad because the scoundrel character of Han Solo would have been looked at as some kind of womanizer, some kind of criminal.
It would have been toxic masculinity.
Yeah, would have been bad. Carrie Fisher, who played a great role in that, and then you found out later what a powerful woman she was. Everybody would have said, oh no, they're just placating to the male tale of what a woman is.
They'd have made her wear pants as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have worked.
Now, I did read on one big Star Wars forum that the general consensus is kind of split a little bit, that if you gave the guys involved in Rogue One and The Mandalorian complete autonomy over everything, that they wrote the script, casted it, produced, and directed it, it might be worth the gamble.
That's a tough one.
Because Rogue One and obviously The Mandalorian are more kind of gritty. The casting was fantastic. It's shot very well. Yes. And if just those guys who were involved in that did everything themselves, no outside interference.
But I think the reason why Rogue One and Mandalorian worked is because those guys were Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
They realized why some of that stuff worked. They realized that now we have this, kind of new version of what we have to have, and they're mixing it in, and they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
They didn't do it like Rian Johnson.
Well, actually, on that same forum, everybody agreed they'd rather have a paedophile as their kid's PE teacher than let Rian Johnson near anything Star Wars related ever again.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too.
Now, who would you cast in a remake?
Ooh. In a remake of...
Yeah. Say the Rogue One and Mandalorian guys, going to remake it. Who are you going to cast?
So remake of A New Hope. Okay. All right, so Luke Skywalker. That's a tough one. So I'm going to punt that for a minute. I'm going to say...
It's hard. I was trying to think about this earlier. It's hard with all of the characters.
It really is. I don't know.
It is hard, isn't it?
Yeah, wow.
No, I was looking at that on the forum, and nobody could agree.
Yeah, was this a Stump the Shepherd? Because you have officially stumped the shepherd.
Well, I actually think there was one thing they did agree on. They did think that Ewan McGregor could actually play Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but you're talking about today.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. I can't picture Anthony Daniels not being C-3PO.
Well, you wouldn't know, would you?
I mean, you could CGI him, and then he could just be a voice. And, Kenny Baker, rest in peace, he's gone. Peter Mayhew, rest in peace, he's gone. My gosh, I mean, David Prowse, rest in peace, he's gone. Can't picture anybody other than James Earl Jones being the voice of Darth Vader. But, I mean, maybe Princess Leia is Selma Hayek 20 years ago, but not today. I don't know.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, that is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you recast that movie? I don't think you can recast that movie. I don't think it's possible.
There's a lot of good actors out there. I'm sure if we actually sat down and went with a piece of paper and went through some of our favorite movies over the last 10 years, we'd probably be able to find some good enough actors who could...
I don't think so. I disagree. So. I don't think we could. But you're talking about 10 years ago. You said today.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were remaking it today. Yeah.
If we were remaking it today, no.
Because a lot of my favorite actors, I can't see where they'd fit in the movie. I mean, if you take people like Edward Norton or Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know what roles you could give them in the movie.
No. Now, hang on. Leonardo DiCaprio could probably pull off Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, maybe if he was cast as a much younger kind of...
Well, you could age him a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe he could pull that
He's
off.
quite short, though. And Grand Moff... I don't know how tall Peter Cushing was, but...
Yeah, but I don't think he was that tall.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is out there in Hollywood that could actually do this?
I mean, let's look at good actors. Okay, Russell Crowe is a great actor, but can you see him in that?
Nope.
I mean, Brad Pitt's a great actor, but you can't really see him in there.
Sorry. I agree with both those, but nope, they can't do it.
Yeah. Christian Bale?
Nope. Nope, sorry. Not a good actor.
I think he's a decent actor.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I think he is. But anyway, again, it's just like, even with my favorite actors, I can't see where you'd fit them in the characters.
No, it
the original cast might be irreplaceable because it's so branded in your memory that it maybe is blasphemy to try and remake it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
You can't remake that movie.
Right.
You can't do it.
Yeah. Now, I figured this would be one of those topics we could actually do a Stump the Shepherd on,
Oh,
because
see, now you,
there might be a decent chance she'll get in the ballpark.
What you're telling me is you tease me. There was going to be no Stump the Shepherd, and now here we go. Okay, and so we're all clear. I haven't watched A New Hope in
2 weeks.
Maybe 3 weeks. So give me a little bit of clearance here.
Well,
so here we go.
As long as you get in the ballpark on these,
okay,
you're okay.
All right.
Now, they're not outrageously difficult ones, except for the last one. So, since 1977, unadjusted for inflation, how much has the original Star Wars movie made worldwide purely in movie theaters? So not on sales on DVD, Blu-ray.
$750 million.
Pretty close. 775. Pretty close.
Oh, we thought you were smart over there.
No, I figured you'd get close to that, because
okay.
I think we actually discussed that in how much money in the
did we?
Yeah, and the prequel
but we're
trilogy,
too
I
lazy.
think. Yeah.
We're too lazy to remember that stuff.
Now, do you know what the original budget was for A New Hope?
I want to say it was like 20-something million dollars.
Mm-mm. Even lower than that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're talking about original $77.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was less than $3 million.
No, it was $11 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
can barely make a commercial for that nowadays. But well, in contrast, do you know how much it cost to make a Rise of Skywalker?
$7.25.
Yeah, and filmed on an iPhone 8.
Yes. Based off the quality.
Well, it had a budget of $275 million.
Wow.
So you could have made 250, pretty much approximately, Star Wars A New Hopes for the cost of the Rise of Skywalker.
Dang.
Now, how many Academy Awards did A New Hope win?
Okay, so I used to know this. John Williams won for Best Original Score.
Yeah.
I don't remember if there was an award for technical achievements back then, but I'm pretty sure there was, and they won for Best Special Effects. Yes?
Oh, I'm just asking for a number. You don't have to tell me what the awards were for.
Oh, okay. So how many Oscars did the movie win? 4?
It's actually 7.
7.
It won for Best Original Score, Best Film Editing, Best
Editing.
Okay. Yeah. Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Original Score. We've already had. Sorry. Best Sound, rather. Best Visual Effects and Special Achievement Awards.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's all those Oscars out there that most people don't get to see.
Right.
So, I get that. Do
you know how many The Rise of Skywalker won?
-1?
0. I think
I was close.
The one before that got -1.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
Makes sense.
Now, how tall was David Prowse, who played Darth Vader?
6'9"?
No. 6'6".
Okay. That was close.
Now, actually, do you know how tall James Earl Jones, who did the voice, was? It's a bit
5'10"?
No, 6'2".
He's that big?
Yeah.
No kidding.
He's a big dude, yeah. Not remember him in Coming to America?
Well, of course I do. And he's a big guy.
Dude,
but he's one of those, kind of like me, I don't stand up straight. I always see James Earl Jones, and he just kind of doesn't stand up straight anymore.
Right.
Most people say, "Oh, you're not 6 foot tall." yeah, I am. And then when I stand up straight, like, oh, yeah, you're actually tall. I'm like, yeah, but it hurts to stand up straight.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not.
How tall was Peter Mayhew?
6'7".
7'2".
No kidding.
Yeah. What about Kenny Baker?
8'9". No. No. Kenny Baker was 3'6", I think.
3'8". 3'8".
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Now, here's one which you have no chance to get in, so this is my favorite question to ask you.
Well, let's be honest. You just asked me all those, and I
figured you'd get close to them, though.
Well, I got close.
Yeah, you got close to most of them. I wouldn't have a clue for most of those, to be honest. Now, how many TIE fighters did the first Death Star have? And obviously, they get this official figure from the expanded universe novels and all this stuff.
This is a bunch of nerds sitting there and figuring this out.
But it is official Star Wars universe fact.
No, this is more that what's canon, what's not canon, all that crap, which I just get so worn out with. To me, canon
Just answer the question, Shepard. How many TIE fighters did the first Death Star have?
Canon is what was on the screen, not all this crap. But I'm going to go with, you've got this little moon floating around there. 128.
No.
Well, I knew if I would have said 6 or 10 million, you were going to look at me and say no.
Well, 10 million would have been a bit rough. And 6 might have been a bit underequipped.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 128.
This figure is going to astound you for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
The first one is, well, that seems a bit of a strange number. The second one is the number itself, 7,293.
Yeah, that seems a bit excessive.
Now, is that a prime number?
I don't know.
Hey, Siri. Is 7,293 a prime number?
No, 7,293 is not a prime number.
Yeah. So how'd that work out for you?
Well, I just wanted to know because it just seemed a random number, but I guess if it divides by something, I was figuring the person who designed the bays where all the TIE fighters go in,
Yeah, but why wouldn't it be an even number?
I don't know. Well, I guess as it divides among something.
Well,
then
now hang on. You've got Vader's TIE fighter.
Right. That might be the 3.
So maybe now you should ask her 7,392. But an even number
we know what
can't
that
be
divides.
a prime number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, do you know how many personnel it had on board the Death Star?
Over 3 million.
1.7 million military personnel. Now, there are others as well, obviously, like cleaners and stuff like that.
But you gotta have janitors and everything. Yeah. Don't leave them out of here.
Hair salons.
They're important.
Subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be running the Jersey mics and saying, hey, I'm making you a sandwich.
Yeah.
So don't leave them
Somebody has to serve the alien ale.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. You absolutely do. You've got B. Arthur that's running the bar, and she's saying, hey, here's a beer.
Yeah.
And that's one.
Do you think alien ale was free on the Death Star, or?
I'm sure it was a happy hour drink.
Yeah.
I don't think it was
That
free.
explains why a lot of those TIE fighter pilots couldn't really fly for crap, though. If they had a bit too much alien ale, that would...
You know what? If I had to be a TIE fighter pilot and deal with that...
that would be buzzed space flying.
I'd want to fly around and be drunk, too.
Yeah,
so, I get that.
So, lastly on that question, how many droids do you think there were?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know how many mice were running around on the Death Star.
Probably none, because I'm pretty sure they had good rodent control on there. Probably, which some of the droids were responsible for.
That's a good point. 4.5 million.
400,000. And you call yourself a Star Wars fan. Your wife would be ribbing you for those ones.
Yeah,
She'd be like,
I'm just not as much of a Star Wars fan as I thought I was.
Right. So going into the last part of the podcast, I did want you to have the majority of the talk on today's podcast, given it's your all-time favorite movie. Well, Empire is, but
yes,
series.
Empire.
Yeah,
Empire is.
yeah. I wanted you to be able to kind of talk about it. So, who's your favorite character in A New Hope? Because I think mine changed from movie to movie. My favorite characters in some movies were not my favorite characters in others. Well, I mean, like Luke Skywalker certainly wasn't my favorite character in any of the final trilogy ones.
Luke was never my favorite character,
but he was some people's. But I doubt he was in the final trilogies.
Yeah, I still have to go with Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, I'm still an Empire fan. I'm still a Darth Vader fan. I'm sticking with my boy. Yeah, Darth Vader. Darth Vader through all the movies, everything else, and we could probably do a podcast on why the Empire is actually the good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they really were, but I'm gonna stick with Darth Vader.
Right. I think I'd have to go with Han Solo, mainly because I can relate. Because most of my life I've had big hairy things following me around. So.
No.
Yeah.
Well, so with me saying Darth Vader is my first, I gotta say a close second is R2-D2. Because I love R2-D2. Hate C-3PO, but love R2.
Now, who's your least favorite character in the New Hope?
In A New Hope? Ooh. Man, I gotta think about that one.
You see, it's one of those things to me, like if you ask that same question for Rogue One, I think every character pretty much perfectly fitted the role for that script, that it was very difficult to say you disliked any character because they all did a good job for who they played.
I would probably have to say in A New Hope, it'd have to be Uncle Owen. Because he was such a prick. He had everything. Aunt Beru was like, looking at him like, hey, what's your problem?
Yeah.
Why can't you man up? You've got him doing all this stuff, and Uncle Owen's like, oh, I can't do this.
Maybe next summer.
I'm not going to let you do all this. So I would have to say Uncle Owen.
Yeah.
Would be my least.
Yeah, but that's because you don't like the character he's playing, though. I mean, as in just a character. Was the question. Well, I kind of mean as in a character you just don't like, just because it was a crap character. I mean, the fact you disliked him, it means he probably did a good job of being that a-hole.
Okay, crap character. I know the answer to this. It's the guy that says, "Oh, hold your fire. Let's not shoot at this because it's just some random pod that's coming out of here.
No life forms on board.
Yeah, and we can't waste one laser blast to do this. Well, that guy's worthless.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a moron. I don't know whether that's his character. I mean, I guess that's a plot hole in terms of, why didn't you just blow it up? The movie would have ended then, I guess was why.
Yeah, it's that goes back to global warming. And they didn't want to global warm
space, a vacuum.
No, you got to remember, it's Tatooine. It's a desert planet. They didn't want to warm it up anymore, so...
But it was in space at the time when they were going to blow it up, remember?
Well, yeah, because that one laser blast might have warmed the planet up. I'm just saying.
It's no butterfly
effect. That guy, whoever it is, I honestly, I hope he's dead. Now, I hope he died of horrible, painful cancer. And the last breath that he said, I should have shot that. I should have said, no, George Lucas, please just let me shoot that. And then the movie would have been 10 minutes long. Right. But there you go.
Now, other than that, would you have changed the movie in any way? And I mean, looking back now, not even when you saw it when you were a kid. I mean, now, if you could go back and change anything, and even taking into account all the rest of the movies in the series, would you have changed anything, like given Darth Vader more screen time? Would you have made the fight scenes better? Because I mean, like the fight scenes in The Phantom Menace were fantastic with
Yes.
lightsabers.
No, they weren't.
Whereas, let's be honest, in A New Hope, it's you and I could go out in the backyard and do a better choreography in terms of like those lightsaber battles. They were pretty lame.
Yeah. No.
That's one thing the
I-
prequels did have very, very good lightsaber battles.
No, I agree with you. They did that well. I don't think I would have changed anything.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember Obi-Wan's supposed to be an old man, and you know, you take somebody that was supposed to be a great Jedi and swinging around his lightsaber really well, flipping around, and then all of a sudden put some age on him, and don't get me started on Yoda being old and all that crap, right? So, no. I would say no.
Yeah.
I've seen the fan edit that they have where it's a much better battle between Obi-Wan and Vader and all this, and I'm like, no. No, it needed to be that way. I mean, Vader was getting up there in age, so was Obi-Wan, but they could still hold their own. I mean,
Yeah.
even in Empire, even though we're not supposed to be talking about that movie right now, Vader was throwing stuff around with the Force and doing all that stuff, but
Well, I think
It-
the only thing
it
he
was-
did was a chokehold, and I think that's the only real use of the Force he did in A New Hope, wasn't it?
yeah, well, and there were a couple of
Yeah.
things, but
I find
you
your
know,
lack of faith
you-
disturbing.
yeah, but he's still an old man.
Well, yeah, but you remember, like in Rogue One, that end scene was probably the best Darth Vader scene ever.
Exactly.
I mean, he was using that stuff,
But he
slamming them up to the ceiling, and
That's true.
this was only a few weeks prior.
Fair enough.
I think they could have made him a bit more badass, you know.
No, I guess.
But
you're
maybe
right.
it would have stolen the movie too much, because if you'd have had a Darth Vader like you had in Rogue One, I think it would have been.
Oh yeah. Well,
Too
and
much.
it's like Luke with the latest episode of The Mandalorian, and you see he has that same mirror image of him going through
Yeah.
and whipping the lightsaber
But we never
around
saw
and
him
doing that.
But we never saw him in any of the movies,
right.
in that kind of situation, being able to do that. You
Yep.
know,
But all of a sudden,
Yeah.
now years later, you realize what
Yeah.
they're capable of.
well, it's the same thing with Yoda when you look at episode 8, when he's suddenly able to, even his Force ghost, does all this stuff. Or you take, Yoda back in, the prequels, it's not like, the original trilogy was that far, that long after. For somebody who's living
Right.
like 800, 900 years, again, he's like an Asian. He aged very badly, very quickly,
True. True. He did.
Now, what do your kids think of A New Hope compared to the other Star Wars movies? Is it their favorite one, or do they prefer other ones? In the
No, my
series?
kids prefer the prequels,
Yeah.
and I still love them.
Your
they're my
kids, that is?
kids.
Yeah,
yeah,
alright.
yeah, but they're wrong. But I still love them.
Yeah.
So.
Huh. Now, last question. Do you regret not being able to marry Princess Leia?
Yes, every
Yeah.
day,
I think,
every day of my life.
yeah.
You hear that old story about a man and a woman, they get married, and they always say, who's your freebie? Mine was always Carrie Fisher.
yeah,
And my wife knew that. My wife knows that to this day.
yeah.
And I think she probably sleeps better at night knowing that
That
Carrie
she's dead,
Fisher
yeah.
has passed away.
Because even about a year or so before she passed away, she was still on the list.
yes.
Yeah.
No, she's
Just out of
always
loyalty.
been on
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah.
And my wife knows that Carrie Fisher, to me, is my
Oh, yeah.
my princess.
Now I know you.
She's
Now I know
always
you
gonna
like
be
her.
my
Now I know
princess.
you liked her in Jedi. I think when she's in Jabba's slave palace, whatever.
Yes.
But In New Hope, I think she's at her most gorgeous. I think she looks beautiful in A New Hope.
She look, I gotta be honest with you, even in the later movies, to me,
Oh, she's still very pretty. I mean, she's
she's a beautiful
she's like
woman.
Linda Carter, who played Wonder Woman. Even
Yes.
even in her 60s, she's still like gorgeous. She's got that bone structure, those eyes, and just absolutely beautiful.
No, to me, she was always
Yeah.
She will always be my princess.
Yeah.
She will always be my princess.
So we've just discovered that the wolf and the shepherd are into gilfs.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I look back at when we had it's not called Comic-Con, but it's kind of similar to Comic-Con here in the DFW Metroplex, and Carrie Fisher was there. And for some reason, we didn't go. And I told the wife, I said, I really regret this because, you look at Comic-Con things and just to meet somebody or whatever, it's ridiculous price. It's like $150 or whatever. I'm like, I don't want to pay that because I'm cheap or whatever. But I saw Carrie Fisher was going to be there. I'm like, I think I actually want to go. I think I actually want to go and just, I'll pay that money just to be that close to Carrie Fisher and let her sign an autograph that I'll probably lose on the way home. I'll probably lose it under the seat of the car or something like that. But just to say, I got that close to her. And for some reason, we didn't do that. And no kidding, it was the next year that she passed away. And I look back at that and regret it. And even you ask my wife today, she realizes that I made a mistake there because, she's got her, hunks or whatever that she likes and they're still alive. And every once in a while they come around for things. She's like, oh, I want to go see this. And I'm like, oh, nope, sorry, didn't get to meet Carrie Fisher. So sucks to be you because I didn't get to meet mine. So you can't meet yours. And until they're dead, then we can all sit around a campfire and say, sucks to be us.
Yeah.
No, so that's what we look
Well,
at.
finish by saying, Shepherd, may the force be with you.
Yeah, and may the force be with you also. It kind of like when I used to go to church with my wife, when she grew up in the Catholic Church, they always said, peace be with you. I always thought, well, it's kind of like may the force be with you. But may the force be with everyone who's listening to this podcast. And we certainly appreciate you listening to our podcast. And we will catch you on the next one.